As committee members have had a chance to review, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Item number 1 under new business is authorization to execute a reimbursable agreement with ALDOT, the Alabama Department of Transportation, for relocation of utilities related to the State Route 216 from State Route 215 to Lock 17 road project. Brian, welcome.
Yes, sir. This is an agreement with ALDOT. There's no funding required. It's basically their contractor is going to adjust our manholes and water valve boxes in their project. And this just agrees to let them do that. We did ask for it to be doubled up. We didn't get this from ALDOT until late last week. They need it to be approved by the 22nd, I believe, to keep their letting on schedule.
So there's no cost to the city,
There's no cost to the city.
and y'all are fine with everything they put forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions from committee members?
Motion. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved. Item number 2 is approval to award contract for the Juanita Drive Improvements Phase 2 project to Price Civil Services. The total is $2.848 million. Mike Garner,
Good afternoon.
welcome, Mr. Garner, as our new chief engineer.
Well, thank you very much.
Proud
Thank
of
you.
man.
Long time coming on this, asking to approve the award of the contract to Price Civil Services in the amount shown there, $2,848,508.57. Just a little quick background. If you remember, about 60 days ago, we came before you asking to reject the sole non-competitive bid that we received the first time we bid this project. This rebid, we received 5 bidders. And this is gonna save the city somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000.
Mike, I got a quick question. This is tornado recovery
That's,
money that we got from the federal government, correct?
that is right. This is disaster recovery money. Yes,
So
sir.
this is disaster recovery money, and Carly may have to weigh in here, but explain to me a little bit about disaster recovery money. And I know this was a pot of money that we were using for this area that was destroyed by the tornado, but how does that work time-wise, and why are we where we're at with this? Is this the last amount, Carly? Just give me an update of this.
Sure. So we got 2 iterations of disaster recovery money, one in 2012 and one in 2013. The one in 2012 was about $16.6 million, and the one in 2013 was about $43 million. This actually is a mixture of both.
So almost $60 million.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
At the end of the day.
The Juanita Drive Phase 2 project will encompass both 2012 and 2013 money. There is no timeline on spending it. There was initially, and then the Congress kind of let go of those strings.
During COVID? Or
Nope.
before that?
No, it was, so Sandy money was required to be spent, I think, 3 years after it was given, and then nobody could meet that timeline, so I even think like 5 years later, so maybe in 2018, they let that go. But so this is not the last of the DR funding. There is also DR funding attached to a couple of other projects. It is one of the last projects that we have with disaster recovery funding associated.
So educate me, because I was nowhere near thinking about being on council when all this happened. Was this money supposed to be spent in certain ways? I'm assuming infrastructure would be one of them, or, what were the parameters of, if we've spent $60 million in the Alberta area, which was desperately needed, what,
So, yeah,
in other parts of town too, but I know this was a big chunk of it.
all the disaster recovery funding was required to be spent within what we call the disaster area. And so basically the tornado path that for April 27, 2011, tornado pathway was what we deemed our recovery area. So anywhere along the line,
Down 15th Street, over anywhere all the way to where it came into
correct.
town.
So 10th Avenue was even part of it too. Rosedale area was considered part of that. Obviously Alberta was, and we did the Juanita Drive phase 1 project also as a disaster recovery money. But so the stipulations on how to spend it, it has to be either within 3 buckets: infrastructure, economic development, or low to moderate income family assistance. And so this one would be within the infrastructure pot, which is a majority of what we spent hours on.
Thank you for that tutorial for me.
There's a lot more if you want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure in between you and Mr. Tyner, I always have to ask a question about the gold-plated streets, or is that part
Yeah.
of this?
Well,
Again, for his district?
Well, this originally, as the mayor certainly remembers, the original was supposed to, the first phase was supposed to cover the entire neighborhood. But then when we got in there, saw that it was only gonna go to, if you've been to Juanita Drive, only half of it. So that put us in quite a quarry with the rest of the neighbors who, half the neighborhood got sidewalks and new lighting and all this stuff, but the other half of the neighborhood got nothing. So the mayor it was his idea, and we were gonna build that street, what was it called, 8th Street, an 8th Street that we never built, and which was gonna go basically from Alberta Baptist to the police precincts. And so we took that money then and put it over for phase two.
And we're talking about sidewalks and a little more infrastructure, right?
Yeah, if you go to Juanita Drive now, you'll see when you first come in how nice it is with the sidewalks on both sides, the decorative lights, the all new underground.
Yeah, all new infrastructure
all new
facilities.
infrastructure. So
water,
now
sewer,
the
storm.
rest of and the added part of this, there were some drainage issues in some of the backyards in this second phase, so that's.
And that's being fixed.
And it has truly been a nightmare, but what I really want to thank Mike about, when the mayor, I think he told me about, anyway, about the news, that after we waited this long, that we were gonna have to throw that bid out and do it all over again. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever, but y'all got it through fast, and it turns out you $800,000 savings, got a good price, doing the work. And
Mike deserves some credit.
I think it was about 800,000 less.
That's good.
Mike, what was the difference the first time around and second time around, where round one we get one bidder, round two we get 5? Did we craft the bid solicitation any different, or has the appetite for business changed, or do we have any idea?
Good
So
question.
we did not change the construction documents. There was nothing in the development plan that changed. I think the initial bid, the timing was poor, unknown to us. We had a decent turnout at the pre-bid, which you have to be at the pre-bid to submit a bid. It's a mandatory pre-bid. And we had like 5 or 6 of our local firms at the pre-bid, but we only had one bid submitted. We reached out to several. Some mentioned the complication of the project, this is a complicated project. Others that their current workload, they just didn't feel like they could, take that project on at the time.
Okay.
Just an unlucky circumstance for us to bid it at that time, but very fortunate to turn around and rebid it and be as successful as we were.
All right.
Other questions? from
I don't have
committee
any
members?
other questions.
No, sir.
Otherwise, entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 is approved.
Is there music playing?
I keep hearing music too.
We checked downstairs, there's
What
no
is
music,
that?
they're just grinding.
Oh, it just
I
sounds
think
like
it's the way
music.
it's resonating up through here.
It sounds like music. It wasn't Christmas music, Chief, was it? Item number 3 is approval of construction contract with Bagby for City Hall Annex 1. That's the Kip Tyner elevator.
Yes,
Total
sir.
$249,355. Jared, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, this is for the approval to enter a construction contract with Bagby for the full replacement of the 2 elevators just outside this building in the amount of $249,355. This will include the complete replacement of both cars with all the equipment and all of the gold plating around. So full new elevators to hopefully alleviate our problem with certain individuals getting trapped on there. Yeah, I thought maybe it was an educational problem.
It's a setup. to explain it.
Yeah. In the doors trying to open it.
Depending on the day, that might have not been a bad thing, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Item number 3, where are we on a budget basis? Because this came in at a good price, didn't it?
Yeah, originally this was forecasted to come in around 750,000, so we are significantly below the initial planned investment. So as a whole, we're significantly under budget on it.
That's good. Questions from committee members?
What is the timeline you project?
So the total contract is going to be 34 weeks. That is mostly due to submittal and lead time. The actual work, they're projecting 4 weeks per elevator.
Thank you.
So hopefully, and they are telling us that they can work it one elevator, one at a time. So we should be able to keep one of them operational. So, hopefully we will be not completely down, but we'll be 4 weeks at a time having
Thank you.
one of them down.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4 is approval of construction contract, J.T. Harrison Construction for construction of fire station number 6. Total is $5,465,000. Jared?
Yes, is it, as we stated, the approval for the construction contract of this approximately 11,500 square feet of building. Let's see, this does include the demo and construction of the new building and all site work. This is funded by, there was $2 million elevated investment, and then the remainder is financed with a $6 million not to exceed budget.
Jared, how many people bid on this?
We had 5 bids.
5 bidders.
But this was $500,000 in,
Correct.
Yes. Correct. Good, which means we will be borrowing $500,000 less, which is good for our budgets. Questions from committee members?
So moved.
Good. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in
Aye.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 5 is authorization for the mayor to execute an addendum to services with Placer Labs, Placer.ai DBA. Liz and Jayla, welcome.
Hi, committee. This
Welcome,
is
Jayla.
just an addendum to our existing contract that was approved a few months ago with Placer AI. It's required by Placer in order to share information with Visit Tuscaloosa.
No funding needed. Just an addendum to the contract. Which
So
we've already been enjoying Placer.
say that one more time. This is a 3-year contract with Placer.
That you guys have already approved. We're already.
This is simply allowing that information to be shared with Visit Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
And remind the committee and the people watching what kind of information are we getting from Placer?
Good job.
It
Thank you.
is.
Tanner.
It's a platform that uses location analytics, basically your cell phone location tracking. If you're opted into location sharing with certain apps, they collect that information. Non-personally identifiable. Yes, it's anonymized. Can't trace it back to anyone.
That's
And then
important. No.
We're sharing that with developers, right?
We're using it for economic development. We're using it. Jayla is running with it on different ways to strategize and.
Yeah.
Not numbers like with my name on it, but
No,
what
yeah.
it showed me is a
Great thing
number.
that we need.
No, yeah, we can show you
Whatever,
the
not
number, and
Norman
it
Crow, not,
completely
you know.
anonymizes it,
Exactly.
so it aggregates the data. So
Who
we've been,
shops here?
yes, visitor, traffic. We can see where
Good.
people are going.
If you
What
haven't
city?
seen it, you
That's
need
right.
to.
It's amazing.
Pretty neat.
If you haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
It is.
Campaigns do that
You
too.
can tell when the people shop. Yeah, not a bad idea.
Sounds good. Other questions for committee members?
I don't have any others. Matthew. you
Do I hear a
got-
motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5 is approved. Item number 6 is authorization for a contract with Jonathan Ray for Municipal Court Indigent Defense Services. Jessica, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. So this is gonna be the appointed counsel for our indigent defendants with Jonathan Ray.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So this is taking the place of what the Public Defender's Office was providing.
Sure.
So how is he paid by the hour or is he paid just a flat fee? Curious.
He'll be paid, I'm trying to not give you way too much information here. When a defendant comes into municipal court and say they get a $20 speeding ticket, at the end of the day, that fine is $20. What they're gonna owe the court based upon state laws,
A lot more.
gonna be $196, $182. So that $162 on top of our $20 fine is divided out in probably about 15 or 20 different places. $1 will go down to American Village in Shelby County, $1 here to head injury, $1. So one of those pots is the Indigent Defense Fund. That money
That's
can,
at a state level?
that is at a state level, yes, sir. So we hold all these various monies for different state places, and they go all over the place. But the Indigent Defense Fund, we can use to offset providing indigent defense services for our court. Anything we don't use gets sent back to the state. And so what we do is we pay Mr. Ray those monies that we collect.
So again, how do we pay him based on an hourly basis? Or is it a monthly contract?
No, sir, he's agreed to do the services for not to exceed the amount of money.
So the answer is just whatever's in the pot?
Yes, sir, whatever we collect under that goes to Mr. Ray.
Wow.
With a number.
Put me in a ballpark. What do we collect?
We have collected
I
in,
mean, is it 5,000 or 500,000?
no, sir, it's, what's our not to exceed?
120,000.
Yeah, our not to exceed is 120,000.
Okay.
No matter how much he works.
Sure, you're gonna get plenty of work on this.
It's a lot of hours.
There's a lot of people.
Other questions from committee member?
No, sir.
And
Entertain a motion to approve.
This is new?
No, so we have had a contract with the Public Defender's Office. I think our last contract was from 1993. About July or so of this year, they came and said, we're not gonna be able to do it anymore. They requested a substantial amount, an increase. They said, we need more money to do this. We need to provide some other
We
stuff.
spoke about this, didn't
We weren't able to meet them where they were. We gave them actually a similar offer to what we gave Mr. Ray, and they notified us that they were going to terminate their contract. We wanted to make sure we did a thorough and diligent search. We want to make sure our indigent defendants get the best defense they can in municipal court. And so what we did with council's approval, we signed Mr. Ray to a 3-month contract for October, November, and December of this year. We did a RFP. There were several responses to the RFP. Ms. Junkin and some other folks sat on the committee to select that. They selected Mr. Ray for the more long-term contract.
I'm good with it. Matthew?
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 6 is approved. Item number 7 for discussion is a discussion regarding landscaping and beautification of the downtown historic district. Councilman Buzz.
So all I want to do today is hopefully instigate a deeper conversation amongst the people on the staff who know about these things. But what's driving it is in downtown historic Tuscaloosa, obviously the Druid City was known as that because of all these giant old oak trees we have, which are 80 years plus, maybe more, I don't know. But the point is that they're inevitably either dying a natural death or we're having to cut them down because they're intruding into the sewer lines, tearing up the sidewalks, overhanging people's roofs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Can I get some quick ideas? So the conversation I want is, how do we begin replacing that? And by replacing that, I don't necessarily mean planting more oak trees, but the natural beauty that done years ago provides to the historic district is undeniable. It's one of the things that people take away from here when they leave Tuscaloosa. I mean, when people come to Tuscaloosa, essentially they go home thinking about what they saw between University Boulevard and 13th Street and Greensboro and Hackberry, maybe. Who are the people who know how to do our share of the responsibility for this generation? You know, Mayor, what's the old definition of wisdom? Planting trees in whose shade you will never sit. That's the conversation I want. Who are the people on the staff capable and qualified to have that conversation?
We've come up with a plan, right?
And yeah,
We'll stand up.
so here's two spring butts right up out of the chairs.
We'll stand up.
Okay,
At least one of us has a degree in landscape.
that would be,
Yeah.
which one?
That's that one. Great points all around. And I think, without a good plan for how we replant, what you just suggested will continue to happen, where whatever we plant and grow will eventually find its way into sewer lines. So the best way, the answer is always money. So the best
Don't give
way.
me that.
No, it's true.
So right now it costs a little over $1,000 per tree to plant back. Yeah, a lot of the times you've got a spatial issue between the sidewalk and the back of the curb.
Okay, for a moment, let's strike tree as the default answer. That's not what I mean.
Okay.
What I mean is an aesthetic that people carry away from downtown historic Tuscaloosa going, that they've really done a neat job. And that's everything from the medians, the plantings in the medians, to the little triangles between Queen City, to the traffic circles, and along the sidewalk. So don't presume, I don't presume that trees is the answer.
So a beautification study of sorts, almost, is what you could be hinting at.
In the past, it's
In the past, you had ladies' garden. In the past, the ladies' garden clubs were planting trees. These were not massive expense-generating projects.
Do we still have ladies' garden clubs?
I don't know.
master gardeners, we do.
Yeah,
We do. And I've had residents come up to me and say, if the city, Mr. Holmes, if the city will form us a foundation to give to, we would be willing to donate into that to help, not take over. I've got some district funds, so there's not big money, but there's little money that's available quickly. Are you the two who generally within the city staff would be the leads for pushing that exploration?
Yes.
Yes.
All right?
Councilman Busby?
Yeah, sure.
I know we approved a lighting study for downtown, that we were gonna look at a lot of different things. Would it not be appropriate to recommend a study in the same vein of this, if these people are designated the proper staff people to do a study and bring us back something to look at or for you to review to bring to this committee as soon as we could get something like that done? Is that a proper way to handle it? you think?
It might be one of the proper ways. I tend to think that the approach needs to be to tier that work. There's some level of fairly complex, expensive work that probably needs to be reserved as municipal projects. There's probably some middle tier that could be accomplished with something like a foundation that the residents and organizations down here could give to, augmented with some district funds. And then I suspect there is still some bottom tier that I think there are residents in the historic district who would jump at the chance to be cut loose on a specific, small, manageable piece of turf. Okay. Ashley, you said a study.
Mhm.
Who does that?
We'd probably need to find a consulting team to handle that study, to see what would be most appropriate.
Which, something like that would include community input and historical district input and all those type of things, correct?
Yes.
Would that be the same requirements that would be approved by the HPC? Anything
No,
like a house?
I prefer not.
I wouldn't either. I just wondered.
I think the last big effort that happened in downtown was the Urban Forest Master Plan from 2007.
2008 or 2009.
Really? What was it? I'm not
So
familiar.
we received money from the Forestry Commission to hire a landscape architect who had a team with an arborist on it, and they went through, did an assessment of downtown, just primarily the commercial district. They didn't go out into the historic neighborhoods. Came back with what they thought a good urban forest master plan could be, and part of that was, as you see development, commercial development happen downtown, there was a requirement that they plant back trees in the right of way or some sort of landscape.
Okay, that's
Where
and that's
was
still
that-
in effect, right?
Was that ever implemented?
It
Oh,
was
yeah,
It was in
absolutely.
like
Yes.
2005, right?
2008 or 2009.
Okay.
So
It's-
even
but
even
is there still-
today,
But is there still parts of that that are there?
yes,
We're
even
still-
today.
Even that we're referring back to
It
that.
needs to
Yeah.
be revisited just because of how much development's actually happened in the last 10
That
to
might
15
be
years.
your answer, Councilman.
But to Mr. Thompson's point, that really only covered the commercial areas in downtown. And so Mr. Pond's team looks at the urban forest master plan when when they are reviewing plans for commercial development in downtown, but it doesn't extend into the residential areas.
So if you take Deering Place,
Mhm.
30 years ago, I think that was still. It was unbelievably beautiful as those oaks formed a complete archway over the street, and you felt like you were. Now, they're almost gone, and that's not anybody's fault. That's just the way that goes. But what I'm hoping we can ignite is how to replenish that natural beauty in these downtown areas. And if the answer is not trees, it's not trees. Will you two do me an initial favor and just give some thought to that tiering aspect, okay? Because again, there's some that's probably going to take big money and time and consultants. There's another level that I think with some foundation donations and district funds, I would love to commit district funds to that. I mean, that's, the original concept of the notion of district funds were capital projects. And while I don't guess that's capital, it is enduring like capital. And then we all just give some thought to how we would break that up for pieces to attack. All right?
Absolutely.
Mr. Buzz,
Yeah.
Councilman Buzz?
Yeah.
Well, can I ask another-
Sure,
can I ask
absolutely.
another
No,
question? But
I didn't mean to.
But what kind of time do we need on this? Because I'd like to leave this, because it's discussion, but as an action item to bring back to the committee. Is a month and a half?
So when we did the urban
How much
forest
time
master
do you
plan, it took a year to do the assessment and then for the consultant to come back with the recommendation.
From a tiering perspective, if you'd let us come back with an idea potentially for tiering, we can talk with Mr. Holmes' team about how we could utilize some of the external groups if there is interest from an external group perspective. If Alica Place would like to come back in and plant new trees, or Deering wants to do what Alica did, how can we accomplish that and maintain all the legal bounds? I think that would give us plenty of time if we came back in February to give you an idea about tiers, talk a little bit about what it could take if we wanted to do a study. I think that would be fine.
We've got what do we have, 4 or 5 triangles in street intersections. There's
Oh, yes.
we've got those. We've got the sort of speed control circles in several intersections. that have various levels of success at not getting run over every Friday night. We just added that new sort of longitudinal median, what was that, on 9th Street?
Mhm.
And then we've got two others on 8th and 7th. We've got the potential, without expending tons of money, to do things that people in the communities used to do and that some are still willing to do if we can pair it with some city muscle and smarts. So,
Randy, would you make a note to let's get this back on the agenda by the middle of February, please?
yeah, I think that's
We can
just,
come back with an
that
update.
good?
for
just
sure.
come back to us
Yeah.
with some thoughts and ideas based on today.
Absolutely.
And it just, you don't have to do it for this meeting, but to piggyback off of what he's saying, I do think it might be good to take that plan that's in place and see what would it take to update that plan that's 15, will be 17 years old, if we want to do that, okay?
Sure.
Just thoughts about
We'll
that,
take a look at it.
okay? Any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Item number 8, Councilman Wilson had requested 3 project updates.
Yes,
So
sir.
who is doing that? Is that Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir. On the, Mr. Chair, I had opportunity to speak to our city engineer and requested some updates on a few projects that are going on within the district. And thank you for this opportunity.
So the 3 topics that we had mentioned was the Martin Luther King Boulevard, Jack Warner Parkway,
Mm-hmm.
the train trestle,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as the 3rd phase of Jack Warner, is that what you referred to?
Yes, sir.
And then also the 5th Street Townhome development.
Yes, sir.
So let's start out with the what we call Jack Warner Parkway, the segment from Greensboro to 21st Street. I was happy to announce earlier today to the senior leadership team that we have 1 lane open in both directions now.
And Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
y'all.
Thank
I
y'all.
can't take
I actually
any credit for
enjoyed-
that.
I actually enjoyed driving.
I don't have dirt on my hands. I didn't go do anything.
Well, y'all-
But
The-
so and
Jack
that
Warner's open from Almond
Yes.
Avenue to
Give me
Greensboro
some
now,
place
1
to
lane
take
both
credit.
ways, so
Yeah.
first time in, I think it was back in Civil War.
That's a good Merry
It's
Christmas,
been
man.
closed a while, but I don't know.
and it should continue that
progress.
way. Should continue that way till the project is fully complete.
Thank
So
you.
I'd say we're just a few days away from maybe saying that's substantially complete.
Yes, sir.
The irrigation is all done. The work products right now are the landscaping. There's a few more light poles to be installed. There's probably 20 feet of curb, some radii around some of the islands that need to be done. And they have a pretty strong workforce down there. So,
They've been really working.
yes, sir, they
Yes, sir.
are. If
They
you,
got
if you
moving.
take an opportunity to drive through there, you'll see the manpower that they're putting toward this. So I don't believe we'll have both lanes open by Christmas, but we might. Okay. The train trestle, what we call Martin Luther King Phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's the segment from the termination where Phase 1 finished there, roughly around 5th Street. Carries you north, around the curve and down the hill and underneath the train tracks and connects to what was completed there at Nick's Kids Avenue. About a month ago, our consultant team received the comments from the railroad. The comments that I looked through were not of any major consequence. Just last week, Thompson emailed the set back to the railroad addressing all those comments.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be anyone's guess as to when we may receive comments back from the railroad, and hopefully they bless it and we move forward. But my expectation would be probably around the end of January. At least that would be what I would hope for. So finally here, Councilman Wilson, the the Fifth Street Townhomes. Just last night at the Planning Commission meeting, the street vacation was presented to the Planning Commission. On the south side of this development is Fifth Street. Martin Luther King is the west boundary, 4th Street's the north boundary, and 30th is the eastern boundary.
Right.
And all those street rights of ways, at the time that land was platted many years ago, most of the rights of ways are 100 feet or maybe in excess. Really way wider or larger than the infrastructure that's in them needs to be. So the plan, or what was submitted at the Planning Commission for the vacation, was a partial vacation to give back right away on the north side of 5th, the south side of 4th, and the west side of 30th. So that should be coming to council, I would say, mid to late January.
Okay.
So it's in that process. There is a concept that the Planning Commission has approved for the first phase of this development is a 3-unit townhome with a future phase for expansion.
They've done great work, and have had the opportunity to meet with them. And thank you for meeting with me to go over these details. But I want to let the public know what was going on.
We'll keep you posted as that progress moves forward. They'll be submitting at some point in time ideas on how they need to modify infrastructure, and I'm thinking mostly sidewalks, parking, and so forth. Obviously, on the Martin Luther King Jr. side, there won't be any improvements there because that'll get taken care of in the next phase of that project.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm good.
I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you for the updates. Any other business to be brought before this committee today? I will remind everyone that our next Public Projects Committee meeting will be in the new year. It'll be on Tuesday, January the 9th of 2024. Hard to get used to hearing that. I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and look forward to working with everybody in 2024. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Roll Tide.